Hey, welcome everybody. This is John Palma, Dr. Speed Selling. This is Raging Verbalist. This is Raging Verbalist, actually number 170. For those of you, if you're just joining us, welcome. If you're coming back, glad that you made it back. Also, you can go check us out on YouTube, which maybe that's where you're watching us, or on Facebook, because we're in the Position to Win book group over there on Facebook. Let me give you a quick overview. We talk about a variety of things that hit me, and I say maybe the Raging Verbalist has to make a commentary about it. Kind of stay away from most of the politics if you're looking for that. Sorry, but that's the way it goes. And we also have the ever lovely Sandra, who's going to be joining us in just a second, because she is the one who's going to ask me the questions and stand in your stead to make sure that I get this right. Sandra, welcome to, and this is our first one during spring, right? This is now officially spring in the Northern Hemisphere, right?
That's right. Totally. We might get some snow, rain mix tomorrow, though, so it won't feel like it tomorrow, but it does today. High of 56. So welcome spring.
So yeah, for those of you who don't understand that she lives in the Northern Plains. Are you in the Northern Plains? Close to Northern Plains? Middle Northern
Yeah,
Plains?
we get kind of like a cool mixture of an ecosystem here, but yes.
There you go. All right. Well, welcome, Sandra. And what are we talking about today?
We are talking about Ticketmaster. So were you surprised at the Taylor Swift Ticketmaster fiasco?
Well, I'm not a big Taylor Swift fan. I'm not in the demo. I mean, I'm not knocking Taylor at all. But when I heard what happened and how this all kind of exploded, I really wasn't, because we live in this internet age where everybody believes that we have an infinite supply of everything, and there shouldn't be any kind of consequence or any kind of issue whatsoever. So I really wasn't that surprised. And then when I started digging into it and then seeing all of the Twitter action and people complaining and saying, well, why did this happen? And how come people weren't ready for this? And, we should have something better. Well, that's kind of what prompted us to talk about it today. So I wasn't that surprised. Whenever you have, and I'll now step back and give you some reality, which is whenever you have an imbalance between supply and demand, that's what this is called. What you end up with is that prices rise, difficulty of purchase goes up, and more importantly, you're going to have people who are disappointed who say, but wait a second, I couldn't get in. Well, welcome to the way the world works, especially, we have the whole economic system the way it is. No two ways about it.
And it seems like everyone was lined up against Ticketmaster. Does that make any sense?
Well, how could you be upset about Taylor? I mean, look at her, that angelic face, all of those things. I mean, can't be anything that's on her part. And Ticketmaster, the evil, charging money for handling these transactions, and they're just not good people, and they should have anticipated this. If anybody out there can anticipate demand of this magnitude, well, give us a call, contact us, because that means you can predict things that are not predictable. I cannot imagine that anybody sat there and said, geez, there's going to be many 100x demand. But I think people went after Ticketmaster. It's easy to shoot at those folks than it is to shoot at your beloved artist, which is Taylor Swift.
And why is there only one ticketing service for these kinds of events?
Welcome to the reality of the world. There used to be lots of different ways to do ticketing, and I can tell you that as the sophistication has gone up, as we have gone through this, what you have is you always end up with this consolidation. This is the 80-20 principle. Some people will call it anti-competition. Actually, it's driven by competition, because it is not cheap to put together your own system. And there really isn't just one ticketing service, but every single major venue, every single major artist, every single, you name it. If you've got an act and you're going to do it, you're going to put it through Ticketmaster, because, of course, they have the eyeballs. They have the way to do this. So what you're going to do is you're going to see this consolidation. These guys started in 1976. and they've been building on this and building on this. And yes, they bought out their competitor and all of that happened. And people said, well, maybe if they didn't buy out their competitor, I'm going to tell you that this is a consequence of the fact that all of us want convenience. Everybody sits there and says, well, we'll support the little, the little guy, the little company. But in the end of the day, all we want to do is make it convenient. We don't want to get involved in these transactions more than we have to. And that's part of it, is that people show up, they start getting into this, I want to go to this concert, and where do we have to go? And they're just not ready for the amount of effort and energy and work that's going to go into it. So the reason why there's only one is that the market really only supports one Mac Daddy of that. Just like there's Google. How many other search services are there? Well, there used to be hundreds. There's now still a few, but still we're back to, I think it's like 92% of everybody uses Google. No, doesn't make any sense that we're going to go out and say, well, that's going to get blown away. Competition will take care of that, and maybe eventually Ticketmaster, that will evolve, and then we'll see a different way to sell tickets to venues and connect with other people.
And should there be rules put in place to make the system more fair?
Whenever I hear somebody say, if we could just sit down and devise a system which has perfection to it, which is really what people are talking about, is that they are really going into anytime you design any system, you're going to have inequity in it. You're going to build it so those who know what they're doing are better than those who are not. I can tell you that there are people out there right now who know how to game the Amazon system. There are people right now who know how to game other systems that are out there, because all of these systems grow to a certain size, and therefore there's a way to game it. Same thing happened here for the casual user. So here's the rule. The casual user felt screwed, got screwed, is screwed, because that's just the way it goes. A few years ago, I wanted to go to a Super Bowl, and I said, wow, wouldn't this be great to go to Super Bowl? Well, it used to be very difficult to buy Super Bowl tickets. Now you've got people like StubHub. Notice that it's in Ticketmaster. You have StubHub, and people are bidding on things. And when you start seeing prices that match, buying a car, then you know that there is an imbalance between supply and demand. There's only so many of these tickets. And by the way, this is at the SoFi with the Rams, LA Rams, and I thought it would be great. And my favorite one is that this ticket was 2 tickets. They were $5,500 a piece. However, you had to buy the parking pass. That was $962, some number, crazy number like that. And even if you didn't park your car, you still had to buy the parking pass because, well, that's how the package works. So, I think that there are no magic rules that are going to make this work, and therefore that everybody is going to be happy. We're going to continue to see that. The last thing we need is more regulation and interceding. The libertarian in me comes in and says, guys, this is just not going to change, especially when you have an imbalance the way we did. It has been stated that there was an imbalance of like 900 to 1, meaning that she could have done 900 more concerts. Probably not practical for her to do that. And by the way, all of that supply would have, most of that supply would have dried up if she in fact added lots and lots and lots of more dates. We've seen this all throughout history. So that's just the reality of life. But what I can tell you is that one of the realities of business, one of the things that you might be concerned about and should be, is why do most businesses fail in the first 5 minutes and it just takes them 3 to 5 years to realize it? And the reason why is that, well, they make a fundamental mistake. We talk about it in my book. Most businesses fail in the first 5 minutes. You can go check it out and get it physically from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million. Also, you can go to positiontowinbook.com, positiontowinbook.com. You can ask me to sign it, and I will, and we'll send it to you. That's a cool way to get it. Also, you can get it digitally, Kindle, Nook, and Apple. And then we also have another book. So that's the first book. The other book is Remote Work for a Better World. So if you're working remotely and want to do it better, that is the way to do that. That's available exclusively on the Amazon Kindle site, and away you go. The most important thing about this is that we talk about some of the rules, but let's not talk about rules. Talk about some of the realities of what you need to do to make sure you're successful in this world. All right. What do we have next, Sandra?
All right, so given how sophisticated bots are, is there really any way to stop this?
So for those of you who got shut out at the purchase window and who were supposedly on the VIP line and all of that, is that if you were using the old school, right, finger, hit the button, hit the button, hit the button, you were up against bots. And these bots, even though the systems are trying to design themselves so you can't use bots, let's be blunt. First off, with the current AI trend, is you could actually have AI write you a bot to go out there and do this. So I think that there's really no way to truly stop this. The other complaint wasn't the fact that you couldn't buy tickets, it's at what price you could buy tickets. See, we never run out of something. If you ever want to go to a venue, if you ever want to go to an event, as long as you're willing to pay, as long as you're capable of paying, as long as it's not an insane number, well, guess what? There's a lot of money that you can spend and you can go to them. No one who truly wanted to go see Taylor Swift was stopped, with the exception of those who couldn't economically afford it. And all I can tell you is that is the law of supply and demand. So I think that bots are going to get more sophisticated. It is an arms race. It is a war that is going to continue to go on, which is people are going to come up with more sophisticated ways to try to stop the bots, and the bot writers are going to get better. And a lot of energy gets put into that. And in the end of it, well, maybe Taylor Swift needed to do 900 more days, and then we would solve that problem. She should be exceedingly happy about this situation, because I would be surprised to see, if you could go out and see this, you can't get access to this, how many tours do not get sold out multiple times over? How many of these things where you don't have the sold out to the big, massive crowds? I'm sure that takes place every day, and that's going to happen without a doubt. Now, I understand that this is not new as a phenomenon, because just a little bit ago, Sony introduced their PlayStation, and I don't remember if it was PlayStation. Sandra is going to tell us about how she and her cohorts became human bots. So Sandra, tell us about PlayStation, what and how you got involved in this activity and selling with the crowd that your mother warned you about, and how many PlayStations did you end up buying?
Okay, so it was a PlayStation 5, and they were very hard to get. And my husband's a gamer, and so are all of his friends. We did end up getting a total of 8, but we were not buying them and selling them at like a crazy high price or anything. We're just helping people get them. Disclaimer. So basically you had to have a good trigger finger, just add to cart, like you showed your motion earlier. You just have to constantly be clicking, and then when you get it in the cart, well, the key thing is to have like the app, because it's quicker on the app, because all of your payment and shipping information is already in there, so you can add to cart by now if it gets in there. But it wasn't all on our own. There are people who had like gamer YouTube channels dedicated to when a drop was going to be, or a Twitch stream, live stream, Twitter, like it was just a whole thing. But yes, it was my husband and his gamer friends. And the first night we had all of our laptops and our cell phones. We all were open to a different store page, constantly clicking add to cart to see if anybody could actually get it to stick. And then Brandon had the best luck of everyone. He just was good at it.
Yet another reason to stay married to him, the ability to to scoop in and buy that very difficult PlayStation 5. Now, I presume Sony has building enough of these that one can actually buy them without having to have, this amazing dexterity. One can actually just go purchase one of these now, or are they still in that precious category?
It's better now. I know that Xbox had like a really hard time, like way worse of a time. So I think it's better now. And my tip out there for anyone when these things happen is try and go for the bundle, because you get more in a package, but there's more of those available than just the single console. So just a tip out there.
Well, and that fits in with my Super Bowl tickets, which is if you bought the Super Bowl tickets with the parking permit, those were more available than people just selling Super Bowl tickets. So
That's right. That's right. Go with the bundle.
And they weren't. It was the bundle, and they weren't going to give me a PlayStation either. So here we have proof positive that bots come in all shapes and sizes. In this case, I guess one could write a science fiction story of the fact that in a small Nebraskan plain in a single room schoolhouse, a bot was born and generated, and over time would evolve to the hoarding of PlayStation 5s. I mean, right now, we're almost to the point where we can probably sell it to, a streaming service, because it sounds like, so just I guess your answer is keep on clicking. Is that it? Just
keep on clicking. And those auction sites are like that too, like Goodwill auction, any of those, you just constantly click add to cart. That was our practice, I guess, because we got bought out at like the last second on one of those, which is really aggravating. So just keep on clicking. Keep on clicking on.
Keep on clicking on. There we go. We got to get some merch for that too.
There you go.
Well, I had an early eBay story, which is eBay when it first came out, and talk about dating this, is that there were iPods. There were kind of designer iPods that were hard to get. So I'm sitting there and I went, I want the U2 iPod, which I have. Now, they had one used, and I kept going for it, but I didn't want to pay too much. We went back and forth, back and forth. Anyway, I would bid like on a dozen of these, knowing that I wasn't going to get one. And the one I have is the one that I thought, well, that's it. I'm done with this, because I don't have enough patience to be clicking. And all of a sudden I get this notification saying, by the way, we charge your credit card and your iPod is in the, in the FedEx. So you never know. So, all right.
That's right.
So there you go. Those are some tips from the front line of how to get yourself a game. Would not work with Taylor Swift, because again, they just don't have enough of them. There's no factory building more of them, and away we go. My sense of how this stuff will actually get altered over time is that we may have the co-location thing happening at some point in time, where we have, literally have the hologram on your stage, so that way you can see that. I know that this happens in lots of other kind of venues, like when they started doing closed circuit showing of boxing matches. I mean, that's kind of come and gone, but now you have, of course, all the pay-per-view stuff that happens. So, but we'll see. I mean, who doesn't want to spend gazillion dollars and go see your favorite Taylor Swift concert? So.
All right. So with all of that, is this going to happen again?
Well, I think it's going to happen again, and hopefully what we will have is cooler heads prevail, and not sit there and say, what we should really do is put a lot of regulation, put a lot of rules. Now, if you're getting shut out, if you have somebody that you care about that and you don't get to see it because the money doesn't work out, all I can tell you is that them's the breaks. Maybe that's the life lesson. Maybe this is like a first world problem, and kind of work through it. But if you're going to do it, it sounds like Sandra's rules would be, first off, multiple devices. Second, stay hydrated. Third, make sure that you of course stretch, so you don't pull out a limb or hurt yourself. Have a coordinated attack, and most importantly, don't take this stuff so seriously.
That's right. So how do you design a system to deal with these varying demands?
Well, I was in Houston working on a client's location, and I'm staying at the Homewood Suites, and I look out the window. It's July, so it's July in Houston. For those of you who have never experienced it, humidity is, I don't know if you can exceed 100%, but Houston works at it. And it was like 90 something degrees and 90 something percent humidity, so it was pretty hot. And I look outside, and this location happens to be across the street from the Galleria Mall, which is a really cool mall. I mean, I hope these guys, especially with the driving of malls out. I mean, nothing like watching people ice skating in July inside of a mall. But anyway, notice this burgeoning crowd outside. Decide I've got to go check it out. Walk down there, talk about sweating like crazy. I noticed that there's like TV trucks, from local affiliates and all of that. And there's not one, there's not two, but three of them. And this is this giant line. And I walk up and I say, hey, what's this line about? And they go, well, Kanye West is having a pop-up shop. And I'm like, okay. Now, I'm always interested in looking at, trends that happen. And so I start talking to the woman who was one of the on the street reporters. And, of course, she's, getting commentary from those waiting in line, which were not kind commentaries, but we'll leave it at that. I'm trying to just be nice about it. Anyway, I find out that there's like 1,000 people in line to go to this pop-up shop. So I work my way to the front of the line, and clearly I don't look like somebody who's going to be standing in line to buy this. I'm not going to be, jumping the line. So like everybody ignores me. I'm like the ghost walking through this. And they end up having an order form. And it was an order form that I wish they would have let me keep. And again, I didn't get a copy of it. I didn't get a shot of it, but it was your name, your address, your credit card, space for 3 different credit cards, by the way, and then 3 boxes, an ABC offer. And what you did is you got to pick one of those 3, and the cheapest was $75. The most expensive was $300. And there were people who had made it to the front line, and the conversation was going where they were talking to somebody. So how many of this package do you want me to buy? Only to be told that, well, we only have so many of each of these. And then I ended up watching it on the local news feed, and they sold out. They sold everything out that they had, and they had prepackaged these. And that just tells you that was somebody designed that system for maximum sales, maximum utility, and who knows how much they did in that one day, but they did a lot, and they sold a lot, and it makes a lot of sense. So, what you want to do is you want to design the system for that kind of surge. The reality is that no one is going to pay the amount of money it would take to have the servers. See, the internet, people have this view that this stuff is free, that there is no cost. Every server that's out there right now, the servers that we're working through right now, all of the things that we're doing, there is fractions of money flying around. And if you don't notice that, if you don't hear that, if you can't hear the ching, 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 which is like the old style slot machines, money is flying around. Ticketmaster would never want to go out there and build a system for this kind of massive Taylor Swift, onslaught, because, well, who wants to pay for it? Does Taylor Swift want to pay for 900X? And I don't know if that's the right number or not, but some X number of additional capability. I'm going to tell you, people don't want to pay, and the internet seduces people and convinces them that there is some kind of, magic thing that they don't have to pay. So the answer is, can you design the system? Yes. The question is how do you balance it back and forth, and where do you go from there?
Right. And how do you deal with it if you run a business?
We talk all the time about how to drive sales, and urgency and scarcity are in fact real things. If you're selling something that's totally digital, the only way that you can build scarcity of any kind is to cut off how many of these things you will sell. Now, you got to always balance that out. You have to ask yourself, what is your target market? How many of these things are you going to do? But what you can do is you can say, if I'm going to have a sale and there's going to be a surge, how will I handle it if it underwhelms, if it just meets my forecast, and if it goes beyond that? If it goes beyond that, you have to be ready to be able to supply some customer service information to people, because if you don't, they're going to crap all over you, and they're going to put out bad comments and say that you're really not good people and that you're out there to screw people. What I am saying is that you must design a system to deliver in a timely fashion, set the right expectations, and hold up to them. Biggest mistake I've ever seen is salespeople, business owners, somebody who wants to make somebody feel good now by not telling somebody how long it's going to take to build something. My signature turnaround is that I only had a part of the world, the rest of the world took care of itself. And what I found out is that we couldn't deliver in 12 weeks like everybody wanted us to. In fact, we couldn't deliver in 16 weeks because, frankly, we couldn't build this product, these services fast enough. And therefore, we were at 22 weeks. I quoted 24 weeks, squeezed as much as I possibly could out of it, and set the right expectation. So when you're going to design a system, set the expectation about what is or is not available and deliver on those promises. And for heaven's sakes, don't say something just to make people feel good. I know there is a certain human defect that says, say anything to get the deal, and then hopefully we can chill them out down the road. It is a sure way to piss people off and get caught out, which is exactly what happened in this situation. They thought they had it handled, and they had a massive surge, and they had a huge disappointment, and it made the news. Doesn't matter which side of the aisle you were on, left, right, or center, everybody is up in arms. Ticketmaster should be hauled off. This was a mistake that we ever let these guys conglomerate to one, but nobody cared about it as it was running smoothly. And no one, and I mean no one, wants to pay the freight to have more of this capability, because what they want is the fastest, lowest, cheapest price, and don't annoy me. Keep all that in mind, and what you'll do is you'll build a successful business. I'm John Paul Mendoza, Dr. Speed Selling, and for myself and the ever lovely Sandra, this has been the Raging Verbalist number 170. Just remember the words of that Sony PlayStation 5 grabber: click to win, click it to win. And that's not about putting on your seatbelt, but that's all about how to go out there and win in the battle for scarcity and all of that. Go and have a great week. We'll see you next one, and make it happen.